Lelouch's story is not just one of rebellion, but of performance. From the very beginning, everything he does is layered. Every speech is theater, every victory a calculated illusion meant to inspire fear, hope, or loyalty, depending on who is watching. As Zero, Lelouch understands that symbols matter more than truth. The mask gives him freedom to become something inhuman, something larger than a boy driven by grief. But the longer he wears it, the harder it becomes to remember where the role ends and the person begins. Each command issued through Geass chips away at his humanity, replacing genuine choice with forced obedience, and Lelouch knows this better than anyone. He uses that knowledge anyway. Suzaku Kururugi exists as Lelouch's moral mirror. Where Lelouch believes the world must be broken and rebuilt through force, Suzaku clings to the idea that reform must come from within, even if it means serving the very empire that crushed his people. Suzaku's guilt over killing his own father as a child defines him. He believes suffering is punishment he deserves, and so he throws himself into danger repeatedly, piloting the Lancelot with suicidal intensity. This philosophical clash between Lelouch and Suzaku is the heart of Code Geass. Neither is entirely right, neither is entirely wrong, and the tragedy is that had they trusted each other sooner, the world might never have needed to burn. The massacre of Princess Euphemia is the point of no return. Until that moment, Lelouch still believes he can control the chaos he unleashes. Euphemia represents everything he once hoped Britannia could become: kind, reformist, and genuinely compassionate toward the Japanese people. When his Geass activates accidentally, turning a careless joke into genocide, Lelouch realizes the horrifying truth: intent no longer matters. Power itself is the danger. His decision to kill Euphemia is not just mercy, it is an execution of his last excuse. From that moment forward, Lelouch accepts that he is a monster, and instead of running from that role, he leans into it. As the war escalates, Lelouch's tactics grow increasingly ruthless. He sacrifices pawns without hesitation, manipulates allies with half-truths, and engineers victories that leave entire cities in ruins. The Black Knights begin to doubt him, not because he loses battles, but because they sense he is no longer fighting for them. He is fighting for something colder and more abstract, an end goal only he can see. Schneisel, unlike most of Lelouch's enemies, recognizes this immediately. He understands that Lelouch's greatest weapon is not Geass, but narrative control. Whoever controls the story controls the world. The revelation of Charles and VV's true plan reframes everything. The idea of a world without lies, where all consciousness merges into one, sounds peaceful on the surface, but it is a world without individuality, without choice, without growth. Lelouch rejects it not just because it dishonors his mother's memory, but because it erases the very pain that gives life meaning. When Lelouch kills the Emperor and takes the throne himself, it is the ultimate irony. To destroy tyranny, he becomes the greatest tyrant of all, and he does so intentionally. As Emperor, Lelouch accelerates global unification through fear. He dismantles nobility, crushes resistance, and places himself above every law. The world does not see a savior. They see a dictator worse than anything Britannia ever produced. Even Nunnally, the person he claims to be protecting, is horrified by what he has become. This is exactly what Lelouch wants. Hatred must be absolute. If even a fraction of the world sympathizes with him, the plan fails. The Zero Requiem is Lelouch's final masterpiece. It is not a battle strategy, it is a psychological operation on a planetary scale. By ensuring that his death is public, symbolic, and executed by Zero, Lelouch rewrites history in a single moment. Britannia's sins die with him. The world's rage has a single target, and when that target falls, there is nothing left to fight. Suzaku accepting the role of Zero is his redemption and his punishment. He becomes an immortal symbol, stripped of personal identity, condemned to wear a mask forever. Where Lelouch dies to create peace, Suzaku must live to maintain it. Their roles are reversed. Lelouch finally escapes the burden of the world, while Suzaku carries it alone. The final moments between Lelouch and Nunnally recontextualize everything. When she touches him and sees his memories, the audience receives confirmation that this was never about revenge alone. Lelouch did not seek a happy ending. He sought a meaningful one. His smile as he dies is not relief, but acceptance. For the first time, the world is no longer his responsibility. Beyond its surface of mechs and revolutions, Code Geass is fundamentally a story about control. Who has it, who deserves it, and what it costs to wield it. Every major character is defined by their relationship to power. Britannia believes power is inherited. The Black Knights believe power is seized. Charles believes power should erase individuality entirely. Lelouch alone understands that true power lies in choosing who bears the burden of consequence. That belief isolates him more completely than any exile ever could. Geass itself is not merely a supernatural ability, it is a narrative device that externalizes temptation. Each Geass reflects its user's deepest desire. Lelouch's power to command absolute obedience mirrors his longing to impose order on a chaotic, unjust world. Yet the Geass does not discriminate between justice and cruelty. Once activated, it strips others of agency entirely, forcing Lelouch to confront the reality that even righteous intentions can become unforgivable actions. The irreversible nature of Geass commands ensures that every mistake becomes permanent, haunting Lelouch long after the battle ends. CC serves as both enabler and witness to Lelouch's descent. Immortal and emotionally distant, she understands better than anyone how power corrodes purpose over time. Her bond with Lelouch is not romantic in a traditional sense. It is transactional, philosophical, and quietly tragic. She grants him Geass knowing it will destroy him, because she wants to believe that someone, somewhere, can use this cursed power and still create meaning. Through Lelouch, CC searches for proof that immortality and suffering are not the only outcomes of ambition. The geopolitical structure of the world reinforces the series' moral ambiguity. Britannia's use of nightmare frames symbolizes technological supremacy as a tool of colonial domination. Area numbers replace national identities, reducing cultures to administrative units. Resistance movements arise not as unified fronts, but as fragmented cells with conflicting ideals. The Black Knights themselves are a coalition of convenience. Japanese rebels, opportunists, idealists, and mercenaries united more by results than trust. Lelouch exploits this reality expertly, but he never truly belongs among them. Schneisel El Britannia represents the most dangerous kind of antagonist, one who is calm, rational, and convinced he is right. Unlike Lelouch, Schneisel does not act from personal trauma or revenge. He views humanity statistically, believing stability matters more than freedom. His willingness to sacrifice millions via weapons like the FLEIJA warhead highlights a philosophy where outcomes justify atrocities. Schneisel and Lelouch are two sides of the same coin, geniuses willing to shape the world through fear, but only one understands the necessity of being hated. The Damocles Fortress embodies this ideological clash. Floating above the earth, capable of erasing cities at will, it is the ultimate expression of authoritarian peace. Schneisel believes controlling the threat of annihilation will force humanity into submission. Lelouch recognizes the flaw immediately. Fear without resolution leads only to endless tension. Peace enforced indefinitely is not peace, it is paralysis. That realization cements Lelouch's resolve to end the cycle permanently, even if it means becoming history's greatest villain. Nunnally's role in the story is often misunderstood. She is not simply Lelouch's motivation, she is his moral compass. Her blindness and innocence allow her to see the world with clarity others lack. When she rejects Lelouch's actions as emperor, it devastates him more than any battlefield loss. For the first time, Lelouch confronts the possibility that even his sacrifice may not be forgiven. That moment tests the Zero Requiem more than any enemy ever could. The brilliance of the Zero Requiem lies in its asymmetry. Lelouch does not aim to win, he aims to conclude. Traditional revolutions replace one ruler with another. Lelouch replaces the concept of vengeance with closure. By making himself the final enemy, he ensures that hatred has nowhere else to go once he dies. The world is not healed, but it is exhausted, and in that exhaustion, peace has room to grow. Suzaku's final transformation into Zero completes the thematic circle. Once obsessed with following rules, Suzaku becomes a living paradox, an enforcer of peace built on a lie. He must abandon personal happiness entirely, just as Lelouch abandons life itself. Their friendship, broken by ideology, is restored through mutual sacrifice rather than reconciliation. They never forgive each other, they simply understand. The ambiguity surrounding Lelouch's death is intentional, but its emotional truth is unmistakable. Whether or not he lives on in secret matters less than what the world believes. History remembers him as a tyrant defeated by justice. Only a few understand that justice itself was staged. In that way, Lelouch controls the narrative even beyond death, shaping a future that no longer needs him. Code Geass endures because it refuses easy answers. It does not claim that revolution is noble or that reform is sufficient. It argues instead that meaningful change demands unbearable sacrifice, and that the people most willing to make that sacrifice rarely survive to see the results. Lelouch Lamperouge is not a martyr, hero, or villain in isolation. He is all three, deliberately and completely. Another reason Code Geass remains unforgettable is how it treats consequences as permanent. Unlike many series where deaths are reversed or mistakes are softened, Code Geass insists that every choice scars the future. Euphemia's massacre is the clearest example. One careless sentence, one unguarded moment, and an entire political path is obliterated. Lelouch does not get redemption for this act, only responsibility. The horror of the scene lies not just in the bloodshed, but in the realization that even perfect planning cannot eliminate human error. This permanence reshapes Lelouch's psychology. Early on, he plays chess, believing he can always reset the board. As the story progresses, he realizes the board remembers every move. The mask of Zero becomes less a disguise and more a prison. Lelouch cannot grieve openly, cannot hesitate publicly, and cannot explain himself without destroying the fragile myth he has constructed. The more successful Zero becomes, the more isolated Lelouch grows. The Black Knight's eventual betrayal is therefore inevitable. From their perspective, Lelouch is not a tragic hero, but a manipulator who withholds critical truths. Their decision to abandon him is not framed as cowardice, but as a reasonable response to deception. This moral grayness is one of the show's greatest strengths. No side is entirely wrong. Lelouch sacrifices trust for efficiency, and when trust collapses, efficiency alone cannot save him. Geass mythology further reinforces this theme. Every Geass comes with a cost, often escalating as the user relies on it more heavily. Lelouch's Geass evolving beyond his control symbolizes addiction to authority. When his power becomes permanently active, it removes even the illusion of choice. He can no longer look at another human being without risking domination. Symbolically, he becomes what he hates most, a tyrant incapable of coexistence. The Sword of Akasha arc expands the story from political rebellion into philosophical confrontation. Charles Z. Britannia's desire to merge all consciousness stems from grief and fear of loss. By eliminating individuality, he believes he can eliminate pain. Lelouch's rejection of this plan is not framed as moral superiority, but as acceptance of suffering as a necessary part of being human. Lies, betrayal, and death are not flaws to be erased. They are the price of free will. This ideological clash reframes the entire series. Britannia's empire, the Black Knight's revolution, and even Schneisel's calculated peace are all attempts to escape uncertainty. Lelouch alone embraces it. His final plan does not promise a perfect world, only a chance for one. That distinction is crucial. Code Geass does not advocate utopia, it advocates responsibility. The Zero Requiem also functions as narrative symmetry. The story begins with Lelouch gaining the power to control others absolutely. It ends with him surrendering all control over his own fate. The boy who once declared he would destroy Britannia from the shadows dies openly, publicly, and deliberately. His execution is not a defeat, but a final command issued without Geass. The command for the world to move on. Suzaku's punishment is often overlooked, but equally severe. Living as Zero means erasing his identity forever. He must wear the mask not as a symbol of rebellion, but as a reminder of the friend he killed. Where Lelouch bears the world's hatred briefly, Suzaku bears its expectations indefinitely. Peace in this context is not freedom, it is duty. Even the ending's quiet moments reinforce the tragedy. The world celebrates, wars end, borders stabilize. Yet the audience knows the truth behind the peace is unspeakable. Nunnally's realization is devastating precisely because it comes too late. She understands that the brother she condemned saved the world for her sake, and ensured she would never be able to thank him. The ambiguity surrounding Lelouch's survival has fueled debate for years, but thematically, it changes nothing. If Lelouch lives, he does so stripped of identity, power, and recognition. If he dies, he succeeds completely. Either way, the message remains intact. The world no longer revolves around him. And that, paradoxically, is his greatest victory. Code Geass ultimately argues that history is shaped not by the purest ideals, but by those willing to shoulder unbearable contradictions. Lelouch is cruel, so others can be kind. He is hated, so others can forgive. He lies, so the truth can survive. In a genre often dominated by power fantasies, Code Geass offers something rarer, a power renounced at its peak. And that is why Lelouch Lamperouge endures as one of anime's most complex protagonists. Not because he won every battle, but because he chose the only ending that broke the cycle. A world saved by a villain, a hero erased by design, and a peace built on a lie strong enough to last. In the end, the world moves forward not because it was saved, but because someone chose to carry its sins alone. And that is the final tragedy of Lelouch vs. Britannia. He succeeded exactly as planned, and no one will ever thank him for it. Code Geass ends not with triumph, but with silence. No parade, no coronation, just a world that keeps moving, unaware of the cost of its peace. That is what makes Lelouch Lamperouge unforgettable. He did not save the world by ruling it. He saved it by becoming the villain it needed, and then disappearing forever.